Hello, welcome back to Any Pistols. Today we're having a look at a Feinwerkbau C20. This is a single shot CO2 powered target pistol dating from 1990 to 1991. Let's start by looking at the markings on it. And on this side, Feinwerkbau and the production site at Oberndorf. On this side, the low pressure marking, model C20 in the caliber 177, the serial number partly obscured by the grip, and made in Germany. On the top cover is the Feinwerkbau logo and Feinwerkbau. The rear sight is the same as you get on pretty much all of the C series and most of the Feinwerkbaus of this era, and it's a fully adjustable for windage and elevation rear sight with the ability to change the gap for the rear sight element, rear sight picture. So you can increase that by moving that round using a pin. So before, the sight picture can be a little busy because you've got this wide piece at the bottom, and then the triangle there hiding the gap, and then the two side pieces. So if I'm using this for target shooting, I'll smoke those with a carbide lamp. The foresight element is again a standard Feinwerkbau for this period. So it's a metal holder, and the sight element itself is that piece there, and it's a steel blade, and you can change those, and they came with a range of about 6. So you just undo that screw at the front, and then you can slide the blade out. The other thing that's interesting about this model, the C20, they made it so you could move the foresight forwards and backwards. So you got a chair up to 45 millimeters, so 4.5 centimeters of movement there. So if you wanted to decrease the width, the length of the sight radius, it makes it a bit coarser, but it does mean you get a slightly more forgiving sight picture. But you get a very good sight picture with these. Construction: steel barrel, steel rifle barrel. The CO2 cylinder is steel with a brass fitting to the end of it. The frame is aluminium, and the top cover is steel. The trigger is fully adjustable for reach, angle, and the lateral angle as well, so you can swing it side to side by undoing this screw, as well as the usual adjustments for first stage, second stage, and weights, and that's all adjustable without taking the trigger out, so very, very usable. You have a dry fire switch on these, which is this on the side. So quite simply, lift it, the top cover to cock it, and with the lever sticking out like that, take up the first stage, and it just releases the trigger without actually firing. Then cock the action, and lifting this up opens the loading gate and also draws the hammer back and sets the trigger, and then you can push that through, and that's now in fire. So we'll put it back on dry fire for now. Compared to Walther of the time, where you had to have a screwdriver, this is a much easier system to use, and if you're in the middle of shooting and you get a bit of a wobble on, it's really easy. Lift the cover, make sure it's cocked, push it through, push it back to make sure it's on dry fire, and then you can do a few dry fires just to settle yourself down. No need to find a screwdriver, so it's a really useful feature. The grip is standard 2-part hardwood grip with a palm shelf, movable palm shelf, and the I call the duck bill for the top, which just extends that back over your hand to just make a slightly more secure grip. The other thing about this, this is the first C series CO2 pistol that if you just slacken these off, slacken the grip screws off, it can move to give you a far more upright grip, and it's apparently 10 degrees, or as I like it, more of a drop grip. And that's quite simply just done by slackening those off to move it. Just tighten them back up. It's bulk filled CO2. So Feinwerkbau produced their CO2 canisters. They were the same from the Model 2s right the way through to the end of the C series with the same threading. And on all of their cylinders, you get Feinwerkbau for the production. You get a maximum fill weight, in this case 53 grams, and you get a dry weight, so 268 grams. So that's the cylinder empty. That's done in pounds and pressure. You get a production date. So in this case, the first bit I can't quite make out, but it looks probably like a 10, and 82. So it was 1982 for production. And all of these cylinders from Feinwerkbau are serialized as well. So probably there is a record of what pistol went out with which cylinder. But anyway, the cylinders are steel. Filling them, you have an adapter, brass adapter. This end goes onto your CO2 source. I use an old out-of-date fire extinguisher. It's got a valve, a fine mesh filter there, just in case any rubbish gets in there. The hole there is a relief hole. So all you do, once you've chilled give the cylinder a little chill, either by releasing the rest of the CO2 or putting it in the fridge or a freezer, is literally just screw that down until it makes contact, and that will then open the valve. Release a little bit of CO2 till you get liquid CO2 coming out here. Do it up that last little bit. Depress the lever about 10 seconds, and that will give you a full charge of CO2. And then just unscrew it. 53 grams will give you in excess of 200 shots. So compared to a high pressure air cylinder of about the same size, you get a lot more shots. There's a lot more energy density. Also, you get on the end of these is the facility to put a weight. So again, this one's marked, so it's got the Feinwerkbau logo on it, and they literally screw on the end. This one is a 40 gram weight, but they did come in a range of weights. I think the heaviest was 100 grams. So if you didn't feel that the pistol was heavy enough already, you could add a bit of extra weight to it. So firing it, how do you actually fire it? Open the top cover, and that draws this carriage back, or the filling probe. Pulls that back, that cocks the action, pulls the hammer back, and then you quite simply take a pellet, drop it onto the loading tray there, and push the gate closed. You've got the seal on the front of the probe, and that just seats the pellet in. Better put it on fire. So push it through, that's now on fire. Close it up. Take up the first stage. And being CO2, you get quite a healthy crack. So open it up till it clicks, so you've got the thing set. Pellet, and these are standard 7 gram pellets, 7 grain pellets, and you can just see there on the front of the probe, that's hollow. So when that goes forward, the CO2 is coming up here into the action, so it comes into the hole underneath the filling probe and then directed into the back of the pellet. Close it down. And you get quite a healthy crack. Velocity of these, this one is over 550. It's quite quick. And from my experience, I found that the Feinwerkbaus do prefer that. If you try turning them down, they seem to get a bit fussy about the velocities. They like being turned up. They like using lots of gas. Like I said, though, you're still getting 200 shots from one cylinder fill, so there's not really a lot of point to try and turn it down very much. Otherwise with this, accuracy is really good. I did shoot a 10-meter target, and as usual you can see the nice group there and then me pulling one. And as I've said before with these, I don't do lots of practice. That was the first card I shot, and that's really to just kind of get an idea of how the pistol wants to help you. And as you can see, that's a good result. I'm perfectly happy. I see the sights need adjusting, but if I was using it, but that's a good thing. It really shows its ability to shoot a good group. More about it, well, the C series, it was 1990 to 1991 production. This didn't hang around long. It was the follower on to obviously the C10. So in the valve, you've got a valve now, the stilling chamber is in line. So whereas the C10, you had a dropped cylinder to allow the stilling chamber, that's now here. So the CO2 comes out of this callus, out of the cylinder into a stilling chamber, and then the valve, so the hammer with the knocking the valve open to release the CO2 up here. So that's been sorted out, so you've got a much tidier look to the pistol. The other thing being CO2, as long as you've got liquid CO2 in that tank, the gas being evolved from the CO2 going from liquid to gas gives you a consistent pressure. And that was the brilliant thing about CO2. So it reduces the need for complexity. You don't need a regulator to give you the same pressure. Yes, in theory, if the temperature changed vastly while you were on the range, you could get a difference in pressure being delivered behind the pellet. But in most cases, if you're there long enough in front to settle yourself down, the pistol will get to the same temperature as the room, and you can take care of your sighters to sort the slight changes out from carrying the pistol. So a very capable, very good looking pistol. Really kind of moving into the modern age for ergonomics. The only thing you can't do with this is move the grip laterally, so it is fixed in that plane, but you do get the ability to change its angle. The sights are really good. They're fully adjustable, as you would expect, micro adjustable clicks. The trigger is lovely and very predictable. The loading system is easy. It's got a nice low profile. That sight line is really tight above your hand, and it just points. That's a really pointable pistol. A little bit heavier than modern pistol designs these days, but very stable for it. That long sight radius means it's very easy to be precise with it, and it's all round a really good pistol. Feinwerkbau were really moving through their models at this period of time. So like I said, 1 year's worth of production for this. I don't know how many were made, but it's 1 year, so there can't have been that many made before they moved on. Obviously, this is into the transition into high pressure air. And so to a certain extent, I think everybody was chasing the last versions of CO2, which is bizarre because this is only really their third version. Anyway, I hope you've liked this. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, and otherwise I'll see you again soon with another pistol. Thanks very much. Bye.